Edge Pro Apex Sharpener Nutnfancy review. I'm going to start the video off with two questions. First, as you watch this video right now, wherever it's legal, do you have a knife on you? Outstanding. Another prepared TMPer. Second question, no matter what that blade is, EDC, pocket knife, folding tactical, maybe a fixed blade, is it sharp? Come on. Truly sharp? Okay, honesty. I always respect that. I could have guessed as much. Here's why. Because in the last 4 years, I have been doing what are called no-notice gear checks on you guys. I've met all kinds of TMPers, both on and off camera, and seen a lot of blades. It's always fun hooking up with you guys. What isn't fun, though, is seeing the edge you generally have on your blades. It sucks. Seriously sucks. I've seen blades that were never sharpened, owned by TMPers. Very dull, maybe even abused. Now, like I've been saying here in TMP since 2008, I suck as a knife sharpener. I do. In reality, I'm actually medium skill. I'm not really low skill. I can do a serviceable edge, and that's why I'm opening with this knife. This is a Sog Guf Tack. Before it was Duracoated, it was a thumper. I took it out in the woods, used it, abused it. After Duracoating, I put an edge on it myself, not with the Edge Pro Apex. We'll talk about all the details in a second, but with my hand sharpening devices, of which I've made videos on in the past. Here's the edge as it stands now. And if I were to rank it 1 out of 10, you guys know my ranking scale. 10 is awesome, and 1 blows. I would probably give this about a 5 or 6 as it stands right now. Tactical Doodle's our cameraman. See if you can get the edge there, Doodle, so you can see it. Not polished, kind of toothy. I've been doing some cutting with it today, cardboard, and I'll just do a couple paper cuts with it to show you and kind of impugn myself in the process. See how it's ripping there? Now this is a thick blade too. It's hollow ground. It's a little bit tougher. It has a very abrupt angle on it. I haven't backed it up at all. But it's a serviceable edge. It gets it done. And over the life of my knives, well before I ran into the Edge Pro, I kept an edge on my knives. So yeah, it wasn't maybe the perfect edge, very serviceable. The good news is this. Now you have access to what I consider to be one of the best sharpening devices known to mankind as of now. The date is May 2012. Prove it with a calendar there, Doodle. We're in the belly of the Nutnfancy missile silo in the middle of Wyoming. Oh crap, I told them where we are. Anyways, this sharpener rocks, and this is going to be a thorough review. I'm going to sharpen a couple blades for you. I got to throw down some ground rules though, and this is one reason why I kind of delayed it. Is I think my technique is probably not perfect on this. I am practiced. I have a way that I use it, and that's the first ground rule. Is there are a lot of ways to employ the Edge Pro Apex. I don't know if I'll be using Ben's way exactly. Now Ben Dale is the inventor of this sharpener. Great job, Ben. He has a very specific way that he uses it, and I think it's very professional, and he's extremely practiced. I will never approach his skill level with this machine. However, I have reached a skill level that makes me happy and produces blades that look like, see, is that one I sharpened? Not that one. Like that right there. Oh, buddy. I think I showed you guys this one when I reviewed this knife. This is a Kershaw 1029 8CR 13 MOV, the Bear Hunter. I backed that edge up just a little bit. Okay, so lots of different ways to employ the Edge Pro. So what I don't want to see in the comments is guys acting like their way is the best, or preaching either to me or someone else like, this is what you need to do. I don't want to hear that in the comments. Thank you very much. Also, another ground rule is I'm time constrained, and I've got thousands of knives that push through TMP all the time. I really don't have time to make each knife into a project and make it so that I'm doing every roughness of stone and polishing the edges all the way up to 3,000. I just don't do that. I lose interest. So time constraints. I want to get into the Edge Pro, I want to get the work done, and I want to get out. Now Ben will tell you, I guarantee this by the way, that you don't have to spend a lot of time. That once you get the initial bevel on there, or if it just comes right from the factory, it's going to be a quick process. I think with most knives, I will concur with that. On some knives, it just isn't going to be that way. Whether it's the steel, whether it's the factory grind, some you're just going to have to spend more time with. I've spent all the way up to 45 minutes on certain blades. Just depends on what it is. Okay, also, I apologize. I screw this name up all the time. It's the Edge Pro Apex. A good way to remember that, I guess, is EPA. I know, we don't want to confuse it with EPA. I think I've called it the Edge Apex Pro. It just confuses me. So EPA we'll call it, or the Edge Pro for short. There's other knife sharpeners out there. That's another ground rule. I don't want to act like this is the end-all sharpener. I will tell you this, I'm extremely happy with it, and I have stopped looking for other sharpeners at this point. What else? What else? Ground rules. Oh yeah, there's lots of controversy on the bevel, and I'm really not going to address it. This is actually a buck punk, and that is the factory bevel, and it's about perfect. This is again 5160 steel. That's what I try to make most of my fixed blades look like, depending on the steel choice. This one's been thumped, tested, to be reviewed very soon. Okay, that's about perfect. Now some factory edges come out with a very abrupt bevel. I don't know, 28 degrees or so. I don't measure it. It's insane, but there might be a lot of controversy and guys who strike some elitism. I want to stress that their way is the best way. How many times we see this in all gear items that, hey, way I do it is awesome, you suck if you don't do it. So I don't want to see those in the comments, please. However you want to bevel your knife is up to you. It's not up to anybody else. I'm going to show you what I do, and it's pretty much a 21.5, maybe a 22 degree on most of my knives. Again, I want to get in the sharpener, I want to get out of it, and be done with it. One reason we suck at hand sharpening, by the way, is because we do not keep a constant angle. Okay, and that's probably why this one is not super awesome. In other words, as I sharpened it with, I think I used a medium diamond and then finished it off with ceramic, there was a little bit of tilting going on. I call it rolling, and as we roll that knife, we ruin the edge. Welcome to this sucker, the Edge Pro Apex. You won't have that problem at all. Okay, a couple more ground rules I probably forgot. Let's jump into it. By the way, their website is edgeproinc.com. Ben has 11 videos on his website. If you find my information lacking, they've been out there forever. Another reason I've delayed on making this video, by the way, is because there is a lot of information on it, but I've been hearing from so many TMPers, hundreds actually. Please review the Edge Pro Apex. Here it comes. So we're going to go over knife sharpening philosophy, value, setup, technique, and practice. I call them gotchas, that is downsides of the sharpener, and what I perceive to be some huge advantages of this awesome machine. Here we go. Knife sharpening philosophy. Let's see. For today, we're going to sharpen the SOCOM by Microtech. This was the one used in cutting tests. S35 VN steel. I haven't done anything to the blade after the cardboard cutting tests. First thing we'll do, I guess, is to wipe the blade off with some good Goo Gone. Get the tape and stuff off. Then we'll get into the sharpener. You're going to have to decide where you want to set this knife sharpener up at. Usually a kitchen counter is a good choice. Boy, that came nice and clean. And I'll show you the specifics first. Let me introduce this blade though. The edge on it, like I said in the reviews, is still pretty decent. I wouldn't have to sharpen it if I really didn't want to. But we're going to put a really wicked edge on the S35 VN steel that this has. And when you sharpen knives with this thing, you're really going to learn steels. At least from a particular manufacturer. You're going to learn that they're easy enough to sharpen, stuff I've always addressed in my reviews, or they're very difficult to sharpen, or in some rare cases, the knife you chose just will not take an edge. Okay, we'll get to all that. First, setup. This is a countertop in the missile silo, and shown real close tactical doodle how textured it is. If you look really close, you see how it's textured? I don't know if it'll catch on white. This is not going to stick to the countertop, even if I wet it. The seal's going to break on the suction cups. Ben will tell you that. And so this is another accessory you can get from him. This is actually, I think, a leveling glass when you level your stones. But it's also a great way to temporarily mount the sharpener, and that's what we're going to do for this review vid. So I'm going to suck it in right there. just like so, and make sure it's stable, and we're off to the races. Let me introduce just very briefly the parts of it. This is a table, this is a blade guide, this is a tightener, this is the angle that you're going to sharpen your knives at. Ben, I know you watched this video, and I think I told you on the phone I would really like it if you had precise graduations going up this tower, either laser marked or stamped in and epoxy filled, so we could see the exact degree marking. I don't think he'll ever do that though. Talking to him, he said, well, you know, this one starts, the blue is at, let me start at top, blue is 24, yellow is 21 degree, green is 18, and then from there it's 15 degrees. They're just basically spaced 3 degrees apart. This is where I pretty much sharpen all of my knives. I'll come right about here. Either he says to put it right at the bottom of the yellow, so that's 21 degrees. I'm just coming up even a little bit steeper than that. And then I tighten it really well. And there you go. I'm at about 21 and a half, I don't know, 20, whatever it is, 21 degrees, and that's where I sharpen it. Now on his website he's talking about how guys backing up the relief edge too shallow, and he says make your relief edge 19 degrees or steeper, and if you want to do another bevel off of that coming in, you can do that as well. Information on his website. And by the way, the instruction manual that this comes with is excellent. There you can see the angles of degree. He talks about how to determine the angle, how you just want to come a little bit steeper than the factory edge, and that's where you're going to do your secondary bevel. Generally these days I'm doing one bevel. Again, one of the ground rules, I want to get in the sharpener, out of the sharpener. Now guys say, well, that's easy enough to do. I know, but I'm doing like sharpening like 10 knives at a time, and I'm pretty happy with the results I'm getting, kind of like this one. Cold steel holdout. That's just a single bevel coming off of there, and it's wicked sharp. I'm happy with it. I guess another ground rule is I'm always learning too and progressing with this and sharpening in general. So maybe the next time I sharpen a knife like this, I might do a primary and secondary bevel. So the secondary being just a sharper, I'm sorry, a more shallow or steeper angle, whatever you want. Let's get to it. I'll do an edit here and there to make the video, I don't know, less boring, and we'll get to sharpening the awesome SOCOM here in just a second. First, a little bit of sharpening philosophy and introducing the stones I use most. This is a 220 grit, 320 grit, 1000 grit, and this is where I spend pretty much all of my time these days with Edge Pro Apex. Once in a great while, I will have to reprofile a blade that has a really jacked up bevel on it, and then I'll break out the 120 grit stone. These are all run wet, by the way. Okay, and if we talk about knife sharpening philosophy just briefly before we get into the mechanics of using it, some guys will say, well, I like a really polished fine edge on it. That's great. I generally don't do that past 1,000. One is time. I don't like spending the time, and then more importantly, once I get to 1,000 grit, I'm pretty happy with the results. And again, there's some controversy. Guys will always say, well, you know, my way is the best. I recommend this degree, this technique of multi-beveling the edge. You know, please dispense with that in the comments. Everybody's got their own way. I'm going to show you my way here. I generally lean towards having some sort of micro serration on my blade, since most of my media is the soft variety. Ben has some interesting discussion. He has interesting videos on his page, and he likes the polished edge. I'm talking really polished edge when your media is hard, like wood. And he'll say that it's more effective in that harder media, and it's easier to touch up. It's really quick when you take it to the EPA. Okay, so there you go. So we're going to start off with a 220 stone, this one right here. I run my EPA a little bit wet, probably wetter than Ben. He shows on his videos just basically moistening it, and then he's done. So you can see how it sets in there. It locks the sharpening stone in. And if you guys have never used this device, this is how it works. It just basically has a rod that ensures you maintain that consistent angle as you sharpen your knife. And so as you raise it up on the tower here, you're adjusting the angle at which it removes metal. and it's that consistency that produces that just insanely sharp edge out of the Edge Pro Apex. There's a water bottle included with the kit. I put just a drop of detergent in there, and then we'll just wet the stone about like that. Level it around, and I like washing the grit away as I'm going. Now, you guys may be different. That's fine. Remember when I reviewed knives, by the way, how I talk about the importance of having a flat on your blade? Here we see the Microtech SOCOM has that. And the reason I like that is for simplicity reasons. Because what you don't, and this is a gotcha, I'll just jump ahead to a gotcha on the EPA. If you roll your knife, even just a little bit, see how I'm rolling it and I'm really not locking that blade down, so I'm going across like this, I'm actually going to ruin the edge. I might as well be hand sharpening it. And that's going to be a challenge on any knife. And so what I do is I really lock the blade down by pushing it onto the table. You can adjust your blade guide wherever you need it. If you're sharpening a very flexible blade, and again, there's all kinds of information on the Edge Pro Inc. website. They have a technique for that, and you're basically going to keep that flexible blade right in front of the table. So right here. And then the sharpener will just come back. You'll just do it like so. I don't have one to show you, and I don't want to burn video time doing it. This is a stiff tactical blade, so I can lock it into one position, probably so it's overhanging the table in equal amounts. And you can take your pick of how you're going to position it. I think for the SOCOM, I'm going to position it right here. Okay, because then I have access to the entire blade length. So I'm going to maintain that flat. Now, Ben says just keep it on the table light pressure. I'm going to differ in that. I think you need to lock that blade on, pushing down that way, because if I don't, I start rolling the blade. Again, depending on the knife. If you have a funky blade shape, and I think even with this Kershaw Bear Hunter, you can see there were no flats. It's angled as it was. So I basically had to go with that angle. I adjusted this to get the angle I wanted. So you're doing a little bit of geometry. As long as you can get a consistent way to present that blade on the table and not move it. And then we're just going to be swapping it back and forth as we're sharpening it. And that's the entire process. Remember that you want to really lock it down on the table so it's not moving. Here we go. Wish me luck. I want to hear complaints on my technique either. It works. And I'll usually start off with probably, and I change, probably about 5 swipes. Now Ben will say you don't need to put a lot of pressure on the backstroke. Most of the metal's being removed on the front stroke, like so. So before I start removing metal on this S35VN steel blade, I got to make sure it's locked down. Sucker down right here. A little bit of water. This is a machine that's going to take practice. You're probably going to have to do about 10-20 knives before you feel comfortable with it. That's the way I was. Like I said, I'm not as fast as Ben is. If you watch Ben work his, oh my gosh, that guy's a magician. This is a very hard steel too. See, I'm rolling it there. I could feel that I was actually depressing the knife, so that was a bad stroke. I might as well, I'm going to have to redo that portion all over again. Probably not doing a good job counting. There's a way you can really make sure you're getting the right angle. He has a discussion and he shows you on video and also in the instructions about how you can use a magic marker on the bevel and you can see where your stone is contacting and seeing if you're getting the angle you want. I'm not going to do that today because like I said, I'm pretty much sharpening right around the 21-degree mark all the time. Let's see if I can really lock this in this time. Yeah, still feel like I'm moving it around a little bit. I really like it on a folding knife when you can take the thumb stud out and you have more flat to lay it on the Edge Pro. Right about there. And I wiggled it there. That's not good. That's not good. Now, I'm not super anal about having the same number of strokes. I try, but I get more anal about it as I get towards the end of the sharpening process. By the way, notice that you're safe when you're doing this, that you're not going to run into the blade, because this contacts it, and then there's a stop down here on the tower too. So it's a pretty safe sharpener. I have to edit this video a lot so it doesn't get like way boring. Word of caution, this is painter's tape here on the table. As I'm sharpening, you'll have grit fall down here, so you want to keep it wiped clean and then replace it frequently. I use the wide blue 3M painter's tape. It works best. Still working the 220 stone on the SOCOM. This flat isn't very broad, and so I'm finding that I have to be real careful, like I said at the beginning, of not rolling the knife. I've done it a couple times accidentally. Alternately, you could just accept this one, again, do the math, and get the angle you want. So I'd roll it like this, probably raise it up on what I call the tower here, get your 21 degree, that'd be doable too. I'm just working on the flat right now. Coming together. I can see it. This is a good time to see how S35 sharpens as well. It does take some more work to bring the edge out on it, like we've talked about in the reviews. This is where I'm really going to flush the stone, maybe get some of those particulates off it. Just let it flow right onto the counter or the glass base, whatever it is. Now this is a user SOCOM for me, an HEC knife, so I don't care if it gets a little bit scratched up. I'm not going to abuse it, but I'm not worshiping this particular SOCOM. You can see that coming off the stone since it's wet. Blue towels, I'm talking the blue shop towels, are perfect for keeping the sharpener clean, keeping your blades less scratched. Now Ben has a good technique where he will tape his knives that he doesn't want to scratch at all, including customer knives. He'll just take maybe a more narrow strip of blue painter's tape, coat the entire blade on it, and sharpen it that way. The only thing you'll have to watch out for is make sure you're only one layer on each side of the blade, so you don't have different thicknesses, which will adjust your bevel. There we go, that's locked in right there. I can feel it. Don't move that blade while you're sharpening it. Consistency. You want maximum consistency to really get the sharpest edge you can out of your EPA. Another acronym for Nutnfancy. Oh my gosh, I just rolled it there a little bit, speaking of consistency. Oh, daddy like. Okay, I'm still on the 220 stone. You can see that very nice bevel coming out. We'll just call it a 21 degree bevel on that. I haven't even got to the finer grain stones yet. So now I'm going to be more careful. This is just my technique on how many passes I'm doing. I may have screwed it up as I was doing it. I'm going to really pay attention right now. So 5 on that side. I don't think you have to count. Guys that are really practiced with this just have a feel of it. Also, as I progress in the sharpening, I'm not using that much pressure. I pretty much have my relief edge established, and now I'm just using moderate, maybe even light pressure. There's 5 swipes on the SOCOM. I'll probably do that as twice more. Here comes 5 for this side. Careful when you're going to the tip too, because you can ding it up. So if I come off and use a lot of pressure towards the tip, you can actually dull your tip, I have found. rolled it just a little bit on that one. I didn't like it. So you see I'm holding that knife. I'm just pressing it down on the flat. See how that works. Wicked. There's a piece of paper. This is, again, not even finished. That's just the first stage with the Edge Pro Apex. The first stage. Now we're going to take it a little bit deeper here in just a second. Just smacked it against the cabinet though, so let me just do one more set of swipes on this. Oh, dang it. Rolled it. See how it gets wet? I'm just keeping it clean. Minimize the scratches on the blade that way. Okay, I like it. Notice how quickly you can change the stones out. Here comes in a 220. We'll finish with 1,000, like so. Locked in, wetting it. This can be addictive, by the way, as a hobby. Now, just because I have so many knives I'm sharpening and maintaining, it's kind of work for me, but I think you guys will just love doing this. Oh, that's feeling good. It's smoothing out already. Ben will talk about the burr, how burr develops, and how you take it off with the included ceramic rod if you buy the kit. Oh, I rolled it right there. Let's put it right there. See that? Right about there. Much better. Again, we're with the 320 grit stone on this SOCOM right now. God, this sharpener rocks. This stage I'm using light pressure, not a lot at all. I'll just do 4 per side. I think guys just like watching stuff get done. It's like watching a construction site, you know, Doodle? Mm-hmm. It's just interesting. Oh my gosh, look at that. It's looking sick already. See how my stone's getting a little bit dry here? So I'll just do a little bit of water. Again, I'm probably running it wetter than some guys. I like it. Make sure you don't cut yourself when you're wiping your blade down. Oh man, that's sick. It's exciting when that edge starts coming out. Knife reaching its full potential. It's almost like maintaining your car. I mean, do you change the oil in your car? Well, absolutely, Nutnfancy. Take care of your knives too, bro. Oh my gosh, that's exciting. Okay, 320 stone is done. Here comes the 1000. And sometimes I even skip that. I just go with the 320, maybe opting for that micro serration. If you were to look at that blade under a microscope, you would see just that. Some micro serrations. 1000 stone in. Again, we're not removing a lot. We're mostly just touching up the blade is how I think of it. Awesome. See this beautiful fine edge this S35 is taking. Gosh, that's sick. Look at the polish on that edge. That's with 1,000 stone on it. Gosh, that's exciting. That is exciting. Now, one phenomena that I've noticed with my sharpening is that when I come to this side, my bevels are always a little bit shallower. Even though I feel like I'm using the same force, the same technique, if you look at some of my knives, there's a shallower bevel than that side out of the Edge Pro Apex. That's just me. Almost done with this. Couple more passes. 3 light. I'm going to do 3 light a couple times. It's hard to fit it in and fit the camera in too, so that's why some of these angles are kind of awkward. There's that piece of paper now. Pretty sharp. Sometimes you'll feel the burr on it. You take the ceramic stone, which is included, and you just do a light pass at an angle greater than you sharpened it. You're not putting any pressure on it. All you're doing is getting rid of the burr. Sharpening job complete on the Microtech SOCOM S35 VN steel. Look at that. Gotchas during the sharpening process. I've covered a few of them. Once again, don't roll the blade. You gotta lock it down on the sharpener, and you gotta figure out how to do that. And I've talked about some techniques on that. You can also go to the Edge Pro Inc. website. They'll have some more for you. Don't use uneven pressure. And I try not to. In other words, the same pressure I used on one side, I'm using on the other side. And it's moderate. It's not a lot. Your primary removal stroke is the push stroke. And the back stroke is kind of the glide stroke. You can get some blade scratching as you're in the EPA. It just happens. Again, if that bothers you, you can tape your blade up. Or you can do as I've been doing all along. Keeping the blade wiped down with your blue shop towel. And also a new piece of painter's tape. I start it pretty much with every knife, and then keeping the table wiped off as well. Wide stones won't follow curves that well. That's why he makes available these ones right here. So if you have an organic style of blade, a lot of the Kershaws are that way, the zero tolerance, this is probably what you're going to have to use. I've used them a little bit, not a ton. The same concept applies though. You're just going to choose your degree, follow the blade, shape around, no big deal. Since you're a TMP knife guy, chances are you're going to be using your Edge Pro Apex a lot. The day may come when you have to do what's called re-leveling the stone. That is resurfacing it so it's a uniform cutting surface against the steel. You'll develop a bow in this section right here. Incidentally, I just noticed a crack in my stone right there. Still usable, still using it. Haven't noticed any roughness against the blade yet. I'll keep an eye on it. But when you re-level the stone, you'll be using this glass table right here. And this stuff right here. Ordered separately, once again, from edgeproinc.com. This is silicon carbide, extremely hard, and it allows you to basically grind or resurface this stone. Just turn it upside down. All the instructions are on edgeproinc.com. It's a loud and grinding process he shows you on the video. Voila, you have a new 220 grit stone in this case, ready to rock and roll. Now, like I said, this one's cracked. I'm going to keep an eye on it. You can purchase any stones you want in any, I don't know, grit levels you want. I showed you my favorites, 220, 320, and 1000. What I didn't show you is this, the polishing tapes, and I have used those. They're basically self-adhesive tapes. They come in various grit levels, if you will, all the way up to 3000. I generally don't use those. I'm so happy, once again, with this. That's 1,000 off the stone. Well, Nutnfancy, you should do more. I mean, take it down to 3,000. Again, this cuts so well for me. I have 10 other knives that need sharpening besides this one. So time is kind of important. So there you go. Quick look at some stones. And I think that's about it for gotchas, except for one. This is an expensive knife sharpener. I'm not going to lie to you. It's $245 for the kit. It doesn't include the glass base or the silicon carbide. Again, that's extra. It does include awesome instructions, videos. DVD comes with it. If you don't have it, go on their website, and an awesome carry case for $245. US made from a US inventor, Ben Dale. That's pretty awesome. I would be more excited at, I don't know, about $175 price point for the Edge Pro Apex kit. I tried to get you guys a deal on it. I can't do it because they have a dealer network. So I can't really get you a better price on it because otherwise the dealers are going to be upset. Lots of drama ensues. I still think it's worth it at $245 because the upsides are so amazing. Once you get practiced, once you get good, it's a fast sharpener. If I wasn't filming this blade, I probably could have done it in 5 minutes, even S35V in steel. Working around the camera as it's in the way, it makes it a little bit tougher. 5 minutes, and that's just for me. Guys who are even more practiced will be quicker. Ben will tell you it's like 20 seconds. Here's another cool part. If you're not convinced from this video on the edge that is produced from the EPA, you can send a knife to Edge Pro Inc. and send it to Ben, and he will test sharpen it for you for free. You have to enclose shipping money back to him. He'll sharpen your blade, and you can check it out. And you'll see what a fine, polished, and amazing edge the EPA puts on your knife. So they are truly amazing, consistent, and durable edges, and it's up to you what you want to do with it. If you want to back your relief cut up, do it. I say, depends on the steel. You can see what I do. This is running about a 21 degree today. Slightly steeper, not much, and it works great. I didn't, multi-bevel this one. You can do that as well. You can experiment and just find out what works best for you in different steels if you have a lot of time. It's a durable sharpening device. It's well made. I've been using it for about a year now. It's another advantage for me waiting on this review is that I know it well. There's nothing that's busted on it. It doesn't rock back and forth once you have a good stable base. It's US made from a US company. It's pretty awesome. And you don't have to rely on any errant sharpening services which may or may not deliver quality and value. It's the favorite sharpener I've ever found, to include the Spyderco SharpMaker, Lansky, and all those other manual sharpeners, which honestly I don't think have near the capability of this one, because you can reprofile, you can be extremely consistent. The stones are extremely high quality from what I've seen. You saw how it cut the S35. It made short work of this. I've used Lansky's, I've used a SharpMaker. I have never obtained results like this, ever. And I will continue to reference it in my Nutnfancy reviews. If and when I find something better, I'll let you know, but it is doubtful. Thanks for watching. See ya.